I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs. I play video games.
News and Gourmet with your hosts, John DeLuna, XV, Weebum.
Damn right I am.
And Rob.
Here we go.
News and Gourmet.
Hey everybody, it's your old friend John DeLuna. Welcome to New Soundwave 99. It's a big show this week. We have a special guest, Ender, who used to be one of the original 4 or 5, I would say, on RFC, our mothership show, our master show. So Ender's going to join us. Also, our regular cast, Peter, AKK Weebum, XV, and participating this week, Brian Kilby, who's usually our producer extraordinaire.
People, they will actually hear me instead of just you guys.
You will actually hear Brian participating, and it's a big show. It's an important show because right off the bat, we would be remiss without discussing the passing of a visionary, a man like few other. Steve Jobs actually passed away, or the announcement of his passing was today, the day we're recording the show, which is Tuesday, the 5th.
Wednesday.
So, guys, it's been already, just in the few hours since Steve Jobs was announced as passing, it's been well documented what he's meant to the tech world. He was 56, by the way.
Yeah. He co-created Breakout.
Yes. So we're actually,
got
actually,
paid
that's
for
a good
it.
point. So in addition to, of course, what we know, the monolith of Apple, the Church of Apple, he has all sorts of fun and interesting.
He worked for Atari.
In his past. Worked with Steve Wozniak. How about
Well,
that?
actually, he did, but not at Atari. Steve Jobs actually paid Woz money to develop Breakout, then he took the credit for it. But you know what? He's a genius, a visionary.
But,
sometimes
but
you gotta
even
step on
Steve
people.
Wozniak himself has said, he was the brains. He was like, he knew everything.
Oh yeah, Steve Jobs was awesome, and
now he's made the ultimate sacrifice to deliver Douglas Adams' iPad.
Oh, God.
That's nice. I like that.
Very nice.
I'm not disrespecting Steve Jobs. Of course, he meant a lot. But
Brian, so you seem particularly, I guess, respectful, and I guess you seem to have like a good point of view. So kind of kick this off. Like, what are your thoughts today?
Well, I think it's too early just to say what impact that Steve Jobs has really had on gaming. I mean, early on, of course, he created. He had a job at Atari, and he was paid to develop Breakout. And of course, Breakout's one of my favorite games of all time. I love Breakout. So I mean, I'm not saying that to sort of underplay the iPad and iPod Touch and that. I mean, Breakout is. And its derivatives are some of my favorite games. But it's really too early to tell what impact he's really had. Because, of course, I think we're all console gamers and, traditional game players. But mobile gaming was pretty much developed by the iPad, by the iPod Touch and by the iPhone. Of course, phones had things on it like Snake and crappy games like that, but really came into its own with the iPhone and iPod Touch, and we really have no idea where that's going to go. So, 50, 60 years from now, once context changes, people may think of Steve Jobs in terms of gaming, not just technology, portable technology and PCs. He may be thought of because he really didn't create the PC. He didn't create the Apple One. He just helped market it and he helped source it, but he didn't develop it. But people think of him in terms of what he gave to technology, or what he gave to personal computing. So once time has passed, he may be thought of as one of the fathers of video gaming as well.
Well, I think that what it really is about content distribution, and that's just it. Is that while his first triumphs were really sort of marketing ones in technology, in the end, I think where he ended up is being someone who, he used that sort of like marketing vision to say like, hey, this technology should be what's distributing this stuff, and really what was keeping it from doing that is the companies that were in place that did that distribution made their money off of doing it physically and had no interest in moving into it, in an easier way to do it, because there's no money to be made for them there. And he found a way to make money doing it, and it changed everything instantly.
Yeah, he probably had the biggest impact on the music industry as anyone ever has had on the music industry. So he touched basically our whole world. So it's no small impact did this man have. He had a tremendous impact on our world as a whole, and he deserves all the credit that he's ever received.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a few years we may kind of look on what the iPad does for the magazine industry and the newspaper industry, and there's no telling how far his devices, Apple's devices, and their way of thinking is going to change the way we consume media over the coming years. So I'm sure plenty of things will be written about Steve Jobs, in the coming days and months, and I imagine there'll be one or two probably incredibly interesting documentaries headed our way, so we can look forward to that. Moving on. So this week was a big week if you're a fan of gigantic games on the scale of about 8 gigs. If you're going to install this, Rage came out this week. Rage, which spans several DVDs. Like I said, will set you back about 8 gigs if you want to install it on PS3. Rage is essentially a shooter of incredible detail, incredible aesthetic value. It looks like a high-end PC game. I don't know if any of you guys have had a chance to kick the tires or kind of see what Rage is all about, but essentially right now the reviews are coming in. They're good. They are hailing the gunplay as very strong, but mostly it's the graphics. It's essentially eye candy. And there is only one thing I will say about the Rage graphics that I've noticed already is it's a little buggy, a little pitchy dog. The textures on some objects actually don't load until like a split second after the object is on the screen.
Oh, that
so you
sucks.
get this, yeah.
A little bizarre, yeah.
It's a little bizarre. It's also like the first
Oh, that
thing you
happens
see.
to me in reality all the time.
Yeah, so it's like the world comes together like a
And
split
that
second.
fog that's always just in front of you.
Oh, that was on the
and-
N64. We haven't seen that in a while.
Yes, and people are made out of like 5 polygons. It's weird.
Right.
It's crazy. So yeah, the unfortunately the only buggy thing about the spectacular graphics is the first thing you see when you start playing the game, because one of the first things you do is you're plopped down in the world, and you're like, oh my god, this world is beautiful. These graphics are amazing. Let me take a look. So you start spinning around and looking around, and then the textures catch up like a couple minutes later. So that's
It's like,
so
wow, this
there-
place is bland.
So
yeah. You're
I
like,
have
oh,
a-
wait, no, it's
Build
awesome.
somewhere, just like in the build of this area, the first thing you see, this has to work. You think someone in management, like, just the first 10 seconds of the game, they
Yes.
have to work. Okay, like
Yeah.
they can walk into the next room and it can be buggy, but like the first 3 seconds, like just make it load. Okay, take some stuff out of it.
is there a
That's
demo available?
I'm sure there is. I'm
I'll-
sure it's out there.
I'll try it
I
out.
mean,
My
try
graphics
it out.
card is 4 or 5 generations old, but my Core i7 it's a couple years old, but it still should be plenty fast enough.
Well, it sounds
Okay.
like the graphics engine, and this is 6 or 7 years old too.
Yes.
Well,
very
it actually sounds like the graphics engine has far outpaced the hardware, so it actually sounds
Shut
like
up and let me enjoy my joke.
okay.
good. Well, you do that. Enjoy that. Drink it in, XP. Drink it in. Hey, another thing that came out. This also happened. Spider-Man: Edge of Time. Edge of Time is also out. I've talked a little bit in the chat with some guys who have played the game, including one of them who knows the source material, as I'm sure some of you guys know the source material, and they still like it. So that is a compliment, I would say. The story is by Peter David.
And
So
Peter
you would
David
expect-
is awesome.
You would expect the story.
Well, Peter
to be
David also is the guy that wrote
coherent.
Spider-Man 2099, so
how
I
was-
like Spider-Man 2099?
I loved Spider-Man 2099.
Yeah,
Not
but
as
Edge
much
of
as I
Time
like
is
Doom 2099.
Doom 2099 was good. But the problem is, I don't think Doom didn't have like a consistent
off.
voice that Spider-Man had.
I think it bears
Interesting.
rereading these days, and just the Doom versus corporate America aspect.
Oh no! Oh dear! Doom versus Wall Street, is that coming?
No. There was no verses. It was about 10 seconds long.
Yeah.
Oh, Sad. Okay, well, hey guys, well, how was Edge of Time? How is that as like source material? Is that good?
Shattered Dimensions, the last game.
It's a new thing where it's 2099 and the present day Spider-Man are linked.
Oh, very nice.
Did they keep
it's a brand new story.
Voice they had from
Okay,
Shattered
so it's
Dimensions?
new.
Yeah, it's a brand new story by Peter David.
I need to go back and play Shattered Dimension just for the Spider-Man 2099 stuff, because I would love to have a game featuring Spidey 2099 like this one does. So.
Did anyone else notice that the Spidey 2099 in Shattered Dimensions was voiced by his Spider-Man and his Amazing Friends voice?
Yeah, they all had
Also
a
Bumblebee.
Spider-Man voice actor.
Yeah, I thought that was very.
That was a nice touch.
Mm-hmm. It's good to see that video
Spider
games
Friends
in general-
showed up on Netflix, and my kids are all into it now. So I've been like,
Yeah, but it's not.
Oh, really?
Are they?
Well, that's a good
They don't have Anna's Amazing Friends stuff yet. It's just the Spider-Man.
no, they do. They do.
Okay, so
Yeah,
it's
they
just
do.
labeled Spider-Man. So the early
No,
stuff.
there's Spider-Man and that they have them separated.
Neat.
It's up there. You have to look it
If
up.
it's like over 20 years old, it's on streaming, essentially.
Yeah.
Good and bad
Just
on
that-
Netflix streaming.
I'm pretty happy with that one. That was one of like my big introduction to Marvel. I think more proper because they kept having guest stars that would like explain further things.
Yes.
That was like my Marvel primer.
The episode 7 Little Superheroes has a full cast of like Marvel supervillains. It's worth watching. Actually, I wish they had. Sorry to digress. I wish they would get in the Incredible Hulk cartoon that was of the same vintage because I haven't seen that in years. And I would love to see that again, but neither here nor there. Sorry.
Do you have fond memories of that?
I have vague memories of that. So
Okay. Okay.
Actually,
Yeah,
what I found was really interesting is how much music it has in common with the Transformers.
really,
Spider-Man is Amazing Friends. If you listen,
well, it would have been
to all
Sunbow.
sorts
That
of-
makes sense because Sunbow, of course, was a
they
Marvel
recycle
company.
everything.
Well, every time like jazz plays like crappy music, that little like trumpy song,
Oh,
that's like
nice,
the same
nice.
song they're always dancing to.
That makes perfect sense.
Spider-Man
Yeah, that's nice.
all the time.
Yeah, I wouldn't put them past them if they're still using that somewhere. Let's see
I'm not
here.
that
Oh,
excited, I guess. I'm sorry.
also this week, let's see here. NBA 2K12 is out. Unlike Madden, it's better than last year.
And that was a great game last year.
It was a great game last year. Unlike Madden, this does not make money. So
Yeah.
one of the things about 2K Sports is they're not so great with contract negotiations. So essentially, every year they announce, we're going to do another NBA game. Yeah, we're taking a loss.
It's also not an exclusive contract, so
Yeah, I know. Even worse. So,
unlike Madden,
yeah.
which has an exclusive NFL contract and an exclusive ESPN contract. So
They must be like waiting for somebody to die over there or something. Someone in
Yeah.
charge, just like any minute now, is going to make money.
Yes, like please God. All we have to do is sell one to like every human being in, the Western Hemisphere.
I
And then
know
turn a
I bought
profit.
one of those from like 2001 for the Dreamcast because they were like $1.
it's always
Yes.
good to know, though.
Those were
It's always
awesome.
good to know.
Like I'll buy a game for $1. Screw that.
Yeah.
It's always good to know that they can, sports games can actually be good. Most people are like,
Yes, it is possible. They can also
Yeah.
be somewhat fresh year to year.
okay.
How about
Well,
that?
not my thing. I think that they actually really can be amazing examples of gaming and the prowess of it just because of just like you're creating this tiny little microcosm in an engine so you can apply all these physics and all this detail and all this sort of extraneous reality that influences it because all you really have to build is this one true experience at the center of it.
Well, and see, I don't really care for sports as, sports, but sports video games I used to, I wouldn't say I was really into it, but I could enjoy them from time to time until it got to the point where they basically turned them into sports RPGs where you have to, maintain your team and players and everything from moment to moment to get the best results out of it. That's not what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
and
See,
they are essentially RPGs at this point. Yeah.
While I could never get into that, I did find the idea kind of fascinating. Again, I could care less about sports, but I do have some sort of fascination with the computerized simulation of a real event.
Yeah, that everybody's familiar with.
It's just,
So-
just even let the two teams play each other and just sit there and watch that and see how similar it can actually be.
Well, okay,
Yeah,
and on
yeah,
that on that note, do any of you years ago did any of your local news stations run when a new one of these games come out? Run the season in the game to predict who would win out in the end of the season.
I've seen that on TV.
Yeah, they've done that. They do that for the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think
ESPN does that all the time.
Yeah.
That's the part that always got
And then-
me.
See, I could find some interest
Well,
in
I
that
mean,
just
you know.
comparatively. On the other hand, whenever I see somebody talking about like fantasy football, I'm just like, what is the matter with you people?
Right. Well,
Yes.
I imagine from their
It's like the height
perspective,
of lazy.
I imagine from their perspective, it's the same. We look the same way with the toys and stuff.
Well, yeah, exactly. I imagine it must be exactly like that, but that really is like I cannot comprehend the
best
like
thing.
it's bad enough you're sitting around watching other grown men go do something. Now you're gonna go like sit around and talk about like other not playing people doing it while still never touching a football. I like
Right.
football.
The
You ever
worst
play?
thing-
No. Okay. Yeah,
The worst
you
thing
like
I
beer.
ever saw
Alright, gotcha.
was there was a good stretch where ESPN would recreate highlights using the Madden engine. So like
Yeah.
instead of seeing the
Yeah.
actual play, you got to
What
see
the hell?
fairly crude CG models reenact the play.
Like, what the hell? It's like, we don't
Yeah.
want to pay, like, NFL more money to use these clips, so we're just going to use the Madden engine to, like...
Yeah, we're just gonna get the interns to try their best.
That's got to be the best
They're gonna try
intern
their
job
best to, like,
ever.
recreate these plays within the
Yeah.
video game.
Yeah, which is probably
The biggest
awesome if you're an
one-of-a-kind
intern.
moments recreated
it's-
in the computer.
Yes, terrific, terrific.
No matter how you
okay.
make sports video games, they can provide endless comedy if you look for it.
They do, especially the crowd shots. So, like, apparently in all these years, they haven't evolved past, like, the 7-pixel repeated sprite for for the sports. 2-dimensional, like, very, like,
The
paper
frame
thin.
animation
As
of
soon
the
as
material.
XV said endless comedy from sports games, I was just thinking of like California games and like watching that dude at the hacky sack.
Yes, the hacky
You know?
sack.
Like,
Yeah, just trying to kick the seagull all the time. That's, like, all we care about. Just trying to kill that damn bird. Hey, before we go to break, real quick, guess what is making money? Gears of War 3. They have sold over 3 million units in 1 week, and FIFA has sold 3.2 million in 1 week. That's soccer. Them soccer people. However, of course, Black Ops is still close to the top of the charts. So Black Ops has no end. Peter, you're playing Black Ops, aren't you?
Nope.
You're big.
I burned out about 8 months ago.
Oh no! Oh
Yeah.
no!
Yeah, I actually
That's-
played the Battlefield 3 beta, and I played for a good 5 minutes. I said, "Oh, I can't do this."
My
So it
soon-to-be
turns out-
brother-in-law is still playing it.
Yeah, I have a good friend who actually is still playing it. He was like, "I got bored of Black Ops, so I started playing Modern Warfare 2." And I was like, "What,
What?
dude?
Yeah, man.
Why Contrarian. another game?" Like,
In a surprising twist.
there
Yes.
are other games.
yeah, there are other
Yeah,
games.
you don't have to like go constantly for like headshots and barrel rolls.
Yeah,
I mean,
I-
there's-
Two-barrel!
It's not even my type of game, but I liked it too. But you know, there's no vows. We didn't like exchange. You know,
Yes,
Yeah.
right.
You can put it down.
Other
Okay
fishes.
to play another game.
So when we come back from, Peter, do you have one more thought?
No, I'm definitely a fan of first-person shooters. I think I just need to take a couple years off.
A couple years.
That's
We're
what
having a kid.
Yeah, I think
Maybe
I'm gonna
it
go
was like
for.
a marriage. You need to cool off.
I think I'm gonna go for non-first-person shooters for a little while. Like, I can't take them anymore. I
Well,
just,
gonna go for
you know, Peter, Saints Row 3 comes out next month, so
yeah, it's between that, Arkham City, and Zelda. So I think I'm covered for a while.
yeah, that sounds good.
It's a big month. It's a big month. Okay, so when we come back from commercial, we'll dip our toe real quickly into the iPhone disappoint. Sorry, Steve. No offense. That news. And then we'll jump into the topic, which is we're going to revisit the evolution of video game controllers. Just real quick, give a taste. Talk about the best controllers, the worst controllers, the controllers that, give us a warm, fuzzy feeling, and the controllers that give us finger cramps. So this is new Soundwave 99.
Arcade Arsenal. RoboCop and Bad Dudes for Nintendo.
Your move, creep.
Part man, part machine. All game. RoboCop.
Stay out of trouble.
Bad Dudes. The forces of good have never been so bad. If you're bad enough, then you're good enough for Bad Dudes and RoboCop. Turn off the power. Nintendo power.
The battle of wizards and warriors continues with iron swords. Malkil will take on the shape of the earth, wind, water, and fire. The fate of the world is in your hands.
Get Iron Sword for your Nintendo Entertainment System from Acclaim.
Double Dragon 2, The Revenge. Raw power for your NES. 9 incredible missions. 2-player simultaneous action. Double Dragon 2 from Acclaim. The best action game ever.
Okay, so I'm looking for my uncle, but I'm not too sure how to find him, so I go to this island, right? And first I gotta talk to the chief, and then I gotta get this parrot to talk, and then I'm talking to these dolphins, and I'm sneaking around graveyards and shooting zombies and finding undersea tunnels, and then my sub cracks up on the rocks, and the next thing I know I'm cruising inside a whale. Whoa! A new game for Nintendo, man! Every chapter's like another adventure, so it's like a whole slew of games in one. What's the matter with you?
Mario! Mario! Mario!
He's back. All you had to do was ask. Super Mario Bros. 3 from Nintendo. Now you're playing with power.
Continue.
Okay, we are
New
back.
Soundwave.
Guys, let's talk real briefly about the Apple iPhone 4S. Dumb people, thought this was going to be the announcement of the iPhone 5. It was not. It was the iPhone.
Dumb people? What do you mean by that?
Well, I mean, there's essentially like
inflammatory statements.
Well, I'm just
Struck a
gonna say,
nerve, I see.
lots of people not named Brian Kilby. I thought this was going to be the iPhone.
Lots
5,
of people
but
who are dumb, like Brian.
Actually, a lot of tech pundits even thought that it was.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I
the
guess
4S
like,
might as well be the 5. The 3G was the 2. So,
man, Brian.
Newsflash: Chris Triplett just pinged me to let me know that Steve Jobs had passed away.
Okay.
Way to be on the ball, Triplet.
Welcome to segment 1. How about that? Okay, so yes, the
Hello,
iPhone.
Goose Machine. Listen to those keys fly.
Yeah.
It essentially is a catch-up in a lot of ways. So we go from a 5-megapixel camera to an 8.
The 5-megapixel was fine. The video
5 was good.
Yeah.
The 8 will be, I guess, better. But I mean, I don't think anybody complained about the 5.
People who don't understand how photography works were pissed off that it wasn't 8 megapixels. But
I like this chippy Brian. I like this irritated Brian Kilby.
Up with this.
This is awesome. I like it. It's like he did a heel turn during the commercial.
Yeah.
In remembrance of Steve Jobs, I think he's trying to be light on the.
It was either that or I'm a bad influence.
No.
Yeah. Or we come back.
I'm not the host of this show, so I don't have to be likable.
Right.
That's true. That's true.
What's your excuse on RFC?
Screw you, XV.
You.
You notice how I didn't even get to finish saying my part completely before he went there.
I think that was a sound file, actually.
It could be a drop. Hey, Peter, I know you love this line, but at the press conference they threw out again that the iPod Touch, I think, actually, is the #1 portable gaming platform in the world. You have a problem with
take
this.
it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know.
It's
What's
the goddamn
wrong?
phones which you can't get rid of. Part of the reason I don't own one of these things is like this sad hope that this is a trend like that I've had since 1990 something. God, I hate cell phones.
Yeah, they're not.
Yeah, what
bad.
happened with landlines and stuff? You know.
And it just we'd be better off low jacked. Like what? It's the electronic leash. And now we're all like prompted to be eternally rude to each other because we've got this goddamn cancer-producing radiation device in our pockets.
Whoa! There are unsubstantiated rumors that it causes cancer.
Right, because each of us is carrying an unlicensed nuclear accelerator in his pocket.
Ender, it's so nice to have you on this week.
It is.
Nice
I like-
Ghostbusters
That
reference,
with
too.
all sincerity, too.
Everyone keeps saying how nice it is to have me around, but they always have the qualifier this week with it.
I didn't want to presume.
For now.
So good to have you drop by. So
It's so nice
I've
to come visit, Ender.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. So, yeah, start doing the stretch. Yeah, it's like, oh, it's getting late. isn't
I'm
it?
sorry, I couldn't hear you over the sound on
Yeah,
something
it's like,
like that.
I got work tomorrow. Okay, so yes, let's jump to the topic real quick. This will be fun, especially with Ender and piss off Brian.
Yes.
Menopause Brian is
That's
just
for you.
ready to rip into this. So the evolution of video game controllers. We've talked a little bit here and there in the past, but with this big super show, guys, let's just do a free-for-all. When you think video game controllers, what are the good and what are the bad and what are the what the fucks?
The 2600.
Well, you're forgetting, this is a pet topic of mine, so
Oh,
you're really
let's do
in
this.
trouble.
Let's do this.
So, I always think of, when it comes to controllers, you start out, there's a lot of sort of joysticky, arcadey imitations at the beginning. And then the first, like, really embraced controller is really the Nintendo, the NES one, which is extremely similar to the Sega Master System one, which is its competitor, but totally
And the
played
TurboGrafx
out
16.
better. Well, yeah, that came out later, though.
That's
That
true.
was, but though it was actually a very good controller, I felt. But I think the big key thing, if you're going to look at the whole history of it, is that really Nintendo is the big mother of controller innovation. Almost everything that changed, they changed, from analog sticks to, for the control of 3D, which they were really innovating on. And a lot of other things are really imitations. And I think we're getting close to, we're like stuck in this like stagnant period of controllerdom, I feel like. Like, I really want to know why at this point in gaming I can't get some kind of like finger buttons. But so it's a broad topic to cover. I mean, like, where are we gonna start with? Like, I mean, like, we need a little framework here. Like, what era do you want to? We should stick somewhere, because this is a broad topic.
Stick somewhere? You mean the PlayStation Move controller?
Oh God.
Well,
listen, when we
need
get
lube
to
for that,
to
though.
PlayStation, I will have to, bitch for a week solid. I was reminded
So, I mean, I guess,
of
like,
it just
at
the other
what
day how
point
much
did
I
it really,
wanted
like,
to say it
peter
right here
out?
that I'd had a period of time when I hadn't played my PS3 just because my kids had dominated my TV and been playing too much Xbox, and it wasn't worth like switching things over. And I tried to like play some games, and there are good games on the PS3, but every 10 seconds I was thinking, God, I hate this controller.
But it's probably the most copied controller of all time, though. Even the Xbox
PlayStation?
controller is derivative of the PS3 or PS1,
Well,
PS2, PS3 controller.
Yes and no.
It's like a mix of Sega and PlayStation.
Well, I mean,
and
so they tried
Saturn.
to go far away with the original controller on the Xbox, and that was
Yes.
monstrous
Yes.
and unusable. Then they went to the Type S, which is basically the layout for the PlayStation 2 controller with a wider face.
There's a huge important difference, and you got to think of PlayStation controllers in the full scope of their history to understand what is so horribly wrong with this thing. And it's
They just
that
tacked
there
on the thumb
were
pad.
no analogs to start.
Right, and they just put it in the middle of the middle of the.
No, they're in the middle. They just stuck them on the sides where they would fit because Nintendo had come out and started doing 3D gaming, and the PlayStation originally was very sparse in that direction. Nintendo innovated that, figured it out, developed the analog controller, and then Sony jumped on the bandwagon, and because they were halfway through their system, their stopgap measure was to just schlunk these things onto the bottom.
But they did
It
too.
was okay, because you had to be able to play the old ones and the new. And I couldn't wait to see what they'd come up with for the PS2 when they actually refined it, and then they didn't.
But
And then they didn't again, and the only reason they didn't is because they'd been going so strong for so long that we have gotten used to the crappy controller.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was going to be kind of my point. I think the DualShock layout works.
I think it's awful. Those things.
Well, I gather that, Ender, but I'm just saying.
I have large hands, so it's not comfortable for me. But I think for like
I have
someone who's
small
young,
hands, and it sucks for me too. I don't know.
Yeah, for kids and stuff like that, I don't know. I think reaching, when I use the Xbox controller, it's pretty fantastic.
I mean, well, it's the placement of the sticks.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, when you grab the things, it's like your thumbs fall in a natural place, and that's where your primary things are. It's nice to have the secondary controls, and I think they're well placed in that because you don't need it's very inoften you really need both analogs under your thumbs. Yeah. And I think if that was something that happened a lot, it wouldn't be that big a deal on the PlayStation controller. You would just shift your hands a little bit. Might not be perfect, but okay, I'm doing that. But like I'm sitting here, I'm controlling the game with one hand bent inward to my analog, and my other hand on my buttons. I got this useless other analog sitting there, half in the way. And it's just why? And there is no why. It was just because it was where it fit.
But that's true.
System.
That's very true. But the one advantage that the only advantage the DualShock had over the N64 controller is it added 2 analog sticks, where the N64 controller only had 1. And
but the DualShock came much later.
Right. Yeah, well, that was an innovation, and if they, honestly, it's not like the housing's that wrong. All they had to do was take the one analog stick, move it where the useless goddamn D-pad was. Now I say useless, like you're gonna play a fighting game. Okay, yeah, I have a D-pad, but like especially a 2D fighting game. It's not like it never ever serves a purpose. But the only by and large,
fighting fans don't use that controller anyway to play fighting games. They get like a third-party controller for that.
Right. Well, that's just
the only thing I really ever the only thing I ever found wrong with the N64 controller was that if you're holding it with the middle with the analog stick in the middle and your right hand on the action buttons, you can't really reach the left shoulder button.
Yeah, but but I think the game
you have the trigger button at that
pretty
point.
Good.
Sorry,
good. They were pretty good at saying like, okay, if you're going to use this analog stick, you don't really need that, the D-pad for things other than like checking your map or something like that. It wasn't something that was integral into your gaming experience.
Sure. Well, the thing you remember is that this was the great experiment with the analog stick, and I think they were designing the thing. Somebody was thinking like, well, you have to have the D-pad somewhere you can use it naturally. So for games that don't use this analog stick, everyone's going to want this D-pad. Like you're going to move your hand up here, and it never really happened. The standard holding was in that middle position. And in fact, I remember seeing the controller for the first time and thinking like, what the hell? Why has it got that big
it's a
middle
spaceship.
thing?
I actually ran around my house with it for a while, thinking that it was like a spaceship.
I actually have a third-party controller that ended up doing what should have been done in the first place, which was kind of just like move the level of the third thing, the proboscis in the middle up, and remove that whole side,
right?
And just put a D-pad under your thumb. And it was like, oh yeah, this is what they meant to do. But they didn't know that the thing was going to work out. They had no idea that how often that it was just like never going to be used for the D-pad. They just like, and when you pick the thing up, I mean, tell me the first time you picked it up after seeing like what a weird controller. It was like, oh wow, that's kind of comfortable.
It was a good.
It was great. It was great for Nintendo created games.
Yeah,
but it's like the GameCube controller. It was only good for games that were designed for use with that controller. Anything else sucked.
Except that, unlike the GameCube controller, the N64 controller was actually kind of good. I controller too, which it completely eliminated the middle handle. So the analog stick and the D-pad were both within easy access of the thumb, and it was much easier to use. Like you could switch between them so easily. It was like that's how it should have been to start with.
Hey, they were inventing the 3D platformer like that same week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you gotta understand. There's like no idea how that was gonna work out.
I read an article in Nintendo Power when they were developing the Nintendo 64 and Mario 64 that they basically designed the controller around that game.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean
that makes sense.
Spot on with that.
I remember Nintendo Power. They had their hands in boxes. Did you ever see that one? They weren't showing the controller yet, so all the pictures of the people game testing, they had to put their hands in a box and play the game with their hands in the box.
Well, it's like one of those Indian death trap things where you stick your arms in and you don't get your hands back out.
Right, you go to the Nintendo and there's like the Bene Gesserit witch, right?
They like handcuff you in the box. They're like,
Hey,
you can't leave.
Hey, John. Going
Yes.
back to something I said a couple minutes ago, I was just curious.
Yes.
You being a pretty hardcore fighting game fan, do you use the out-of-the-box standard controller for your fighting games?
I do now. So up until 3 years ago, I guess I would have to mod it. I would definitely have to mod any stick I got. Now, Mad Catz makes a stick that comes out of the box. That's adequate.
Right, but that's not the game. But that's not the one that's packed in with your console.
No. Oh, yeah. No. Okay. So yeah. So if that's what you're asking, no, definitely.
Yeah. I used the Mad Catz.
Dude, I was like, really?
I used the Mad Catz pad or my modded X Arcade stick. I love my modded X.
Now
If I
there
bought an
are
arcade stick these days, it would be to like play X-Men.
I think the thing was like, even my cousin who modded his own stick, he was like, wow, if this Mad Catz thing came out like, a couple of years ago, I wouldn't even have the.
Well, the Mad Catz stick has I don't know if it's actual Sanwa parts or if it's knockoff Sanwa
It
parts.
is supplied, but it's actual Sanwa parts.
But I prefer Haps cherry switches to the Sanwa stuff. So that's what I have in my Mad Catz.
I hear you.
Because
But yeah, I mean, if you're asking, do you use the pad right out of the box? No. There are a couple of professional gamers that do that, but they're notable because they use the pad out of the box. It's like
they suck. Like
no, they're really good. And there are, there are even some games like Mortal Kombat. Some people argue that's actually easier to play on a pad at a high level. I can kind of see that by the way Mortal Kombat inputs are, but for the most part, there's things that in fighting games you flat out just can't like really do on a pad. So
it's just awkward. You need to buy it to build a MAME cabinet.
I need to fix my MAME cabinet.
Brian's got like a busted one that's been sitting there.
Yeah, Ender knows. We talked about it before. I need to rewire the video. Everything works but the video. It's I'm missing a 5-volt line, I think, because it's not coming in clear. So
last thing before we wrap it up. So I would say probably 3 years from now. Well, the over/under is probably 3 years for the next generation of Microsoft and Sony hardware. Do you guys expect anything different in the controllers, or are we going to get more of the same?
Oh, are you kidding? I feel like they got like a dartboard out with different options, and they're like just tossing it at it now because the Wii shook everything up so much. The controller department's just like, we don't know what's going on anymore.
Yeah,
and they're just
let's
put a ball on the end of it.
I expect Sony to continue to. I expect Sony to say, "Hey, look, check out this really awesome cube controller." Like they're gonna follow up their boomerang controller with a cube controller, and people are just gonna be like, "What the hell is this?"
Well, no,
so
they're just
like, "Okay, we're gonna go back."
They're just gonna rip off whatever Nintendo did 2 years earlier.
Exactly.
Right.
I thought that the new controller that they have for what's Nintendo's new system called
the Wii U.
The Wii U.
Yeah.
I remember thinking that's what the controller for the Wii would be like. Because I'd always envisioned this sort of some kind of interface between a Game Boy and a system as like, okay, I have a screen here and I have a thing there, and that that sort of innovation feels a little randomish to me, and I'm still like living in this world where it's like, okay, I got buttons under my thumbsticks, but like you think I'm like humanly incapable of pressing one with my ring finger. You know what I mean? Like it's like God. You like
I don't know. Ring finger dexterity.
I have other digits. I know,
yeah, but there are a lot of
people had trouble with this, and people get put off by controllers. But I really think humanity has reached a point where it's time to start using a few more of our digits on our.
Okay, remember.
So we don't need a keyboard.
Like our toes.
No. Remember Steel Battalion for the original Xbox?
I was just going to say, no, I don't mean Steel Battalion.
Yeah, that's the next leap in controller evolution. They were just 10 years too early for it.
Yeah.
You're going to have 150 different buttons in front of you, and you're going to press at least 20 of them at a time.
Actually, what I expect with the popularity of RPGs, I expect to come back for that ASCII grip controller, which was the one-handed masturbation controller that you play.
I love that. I have one of those. I remember the ad on the box. It said, "Play RPGs and eat pizza at the same time."
Yeah.
They were catering to their audience.
In defense of the Wii U controller, there are, we grew up as gamers. We've always been gaming since, as young as we can remember. But there are people who will get confused when there are too many fingers moving at once. So when it's like, okay, well, press this button with your index finger and then use your ring finger from your right hand to press this button, you'll be like, I don't understand it.
Well, that's true. I really think that there's going to be, as much as there is people who like I have to play with a keyboard and a mouse, because there's just so many more options.
Yeah.
We'll play like first-person shooters like that. I think there's also going to be somebody who wants to play with a Wii or some kind of motion controller versus I want to control the thing with my hands and sit my fat butt on the couch. You know what I mean? Do something complex while I don't have to move.
I think that's why the Kinect isn't doing that well.
Yeah, because people are like, you gotta do what? No, stand up.
Well, it's I swear to God, I'm I had to renovate part of my house so I'd have a space big enough for my kids to play Kinect in.
Right, yeah.
Which, by the way, didn't notice. Did anyone else notice there's a Sesame Street game that came out that's made by Tim Schafer?
What?
Yes.
Interesting.
The Kinect Sesame Street game is from Double Fine. They actually had a thing with Cookie Monster playing a game with Tim Schafer. And Cookie Monster eats his controller.
Wow.
See, this is what happens when you're not in the demographic.
That's part of the Kinect game. You strangle Cookie Monster for eating your shit.
That's about as disturbing as the video gets, all right?
Yeah, I'm sure there is a Japanese porn site out there with that very footage. Okay.
I'm a loudmouth asshole. I was not going to go anywhere near there.
Hey, on that note of Muppet strangulation, erotic asphyxiation, that is new Soundwave 99. Hey, next week,
Asphyxia.
the 100th episode, we're going to figure out something to do.
Next week's also kind of the 12th anniversary.
For crying out loud, I didn't show up for the 100th.
Well, you could be.
Good job, Ender.
Yeah, but yes,
I didn't
good
say
job.
I was leaving.
A little premature. Okay, so yes, 100th show. Oh my God, OMG. We'll see you next week. For the crew, I'm John. For Peter, for Ender, for Brian, for XV. We will see you next time.
Don't talk for me.
2, 1, 0. Game over.
Mother. You're alive. Too bad you will die.
This has been New Soundwave. Visit us at tfradio.net for show notes and to subscribe to the podcast. Follow us on Twitter at tfradio for news and updates. Check out all our videos at tfvideo.net. New Soundwave is a Radio Free Cybertron production.